Welcome to No Hacks Show, a weekly podcast where me and Catherine talk to smart guests about many different ways you can optimize your online presence. And we are doing this episode in partnership with Experimentation Elite, the UK's only CRO and experimentation event and award show. Experimentation Elite will be held on June 28th in London, so go to experimentationelite.com to see the lineup and the amazing guests they have. And two of those guests I have on my podcast today, and they are Paul Wilkins, co-founder and head of strategy at Conversio, and Devon Boyd, channels and alliances director at AB Tasty. Guys, welcome to the podcast. Pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
Hey, Sani. Thanks for having us.
Pleasure. So are you excited about the event in June? Tell me about the previous events. If you've been to Experimentation Elite before, what can people expect?
We've been attending for several years now, since it's been around. It's sort of a once a year event where you really have leaders in experimentation getting together in one room, and I guess it's slightly unique in the sense that it's mostly around knowledge sharing. So this is a sort of a group, a community that are interested in kind of helping each other and help each other with that knowledge share. I think that the challenge we have with a lot of conferences is their part knowledge share, part sales tactic, and I think that's certainly very different. That's where this sort of event is very unique. And I think that what you'll find there is that both you have the agencies, but you also have a huge amount of in-house CRO leaders there, and often their stories are some of the strongest.
Devon, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just literally to echo what Paul said there. I've only been along the one time last year, and the amount of recognizable faces of keynote speakers from the industry, in-house agency, authors of different books, they're all there. Everyone's there. The amount of CRO knowledge just walking around at Experimentation Elite is always fascinating.
That is pretty amazing.
You always walk away with some great conversations.
And I think is for those knowledge sharing events, as you put it, Paul, usually they're small. Like, this is not a small event. This is a few hundred people we're talking about. So the best of the best and a lot of those people in the same room for an entire day, and then the award show afterwards. So yeah, if you have an opportunity to go to the event, to people listening and watching this, experimentationelite.com, June 28th in London. I'm sure it is an incredible place to be. Now, how come you guys are doing the session together? This is something I wanted to know.
I guess from our perspective, we, as an agency, we work with several platforms. I think one of the most common, one of the most extensively we've used is AB Tasty. We've been partnered with AB Tasty for several years now. I like to think that as an agency, we're really sort of pushing the boundaries of a platform like that. I think the way that our relationship as an agency and a platform has developed has been really beneficial for our clients. I think that we've got a mutual interest in making sure that our clients get the most value out of a platform like AB Tasty. So we work incredibly closely together in terms of taking what we do from an insight perspective and building exceptional experiences through a platform like AB Tasty. And they have been instrumental in helping us really deliver for our clients in that regard.
Devon, why do you trust these guys so much? Like, what is that you like about Conversio over the years?
Well, multiple reasons. Mainly the client satisfaction.
Okay.
Every single client that we work with, that works with Paul and the team at Conversio, they hang around, right? As a SaaS vendor, we look at the customer lifetime and therefore the lifetime value, right? When we're working with agencies such as Conversio, where it is a deep relationship between us and the consultants there, and then therefore the knowledge they have, which they pass on to their clients. That's what I'm looking for in our partnerships. I'm looking for a deep relationship where we're all well networked. It's not just me as the point of contact. Paul knows all of our customer success team. sales directors, everybody. It's a deep relationship, and they know how to break our tool, right? And that's what I'm looking for. I want them to have that deep knowledge where they go, right, Devon, this is the limitations of your tool. Right. This is as far as we can push it, and these are the workarounds we've created to push it even further. And then that gives us more knowledge and product development stuff to add to our roadmap to actually help. So very much look at the deep partnerships that drive the most value and success for our joint customers.
That makes perfect sense then. So you mentioned customer lifetime value, and this is kind of something we'll talk about today, because your talk is using experimentation to optimize more than just conversion rate. And lifetime value is really, like, when you dig deeper and talk to people who do experimentation CRO, lifetime value is what matters basically the most. So before we start talking about different things you can optimize using experimentation, tell me a little bit about A/B Tasty. Devon, it is described on your website as a customer experience optimization and feature management company. Now that second part really caught my attention. What is that?
The feature management. When we look at app testing, server-side testing, product rollouts, all of this sort of stuff, we're saying, okay, we're releasing new stuff onto our websites, into our apps, into anywhere where code is touching, right? Or where the internet's touching. And we're saying all of this can be optimized, and all of this can be managed. And if we're not managing it, and we're just doing these big bang releases without testing or anything, then we end up with something that the customers might not like or might not need, or is very sort of technology led rather than maybe socially led. So the feature management side very much is born out of A/B Tasty has always been about experimentation and the optimization for the end user. The feature management allows us to kind of layer that experimentation mindset onto feature management. So anytime there is a development rollout going on, we're able to use our experimentation knowledge to actually allow that feature management to happen.
Right. Again, more than just conversions and conversion rate, but really a life cycle thing where you touch on every point. Paul, I have a question for you as well. So your bio says you're passionate about power of experimentation. This is Experimentation Elite official bio. Passionate about the power of experimentation and the impact it can have on the customer experience. The customer experience part is really what I'm interested in, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Like, as we mentioned, lifetime value, customer experience, it's kind of all connected. So let me just ask you, optimizing more than just conversion rates? Give me a few examples. Like, what is the thing that you can optimize with experimentation? And we're talking about online. We're not talking about optimizing your diet and things like that, obviously.
I think so. From our perspective, for anyone who works in optimization, you know that a lot of what we're focused on is often that end goal of getting a customer over the line, getting that purchase, getting that registration, whatever your core final KPI might be. I think that with our most mature clients, when we have grown and developed both the framework for experimentation and the culture of experimentation, we're then able to use this process to answer fundamental strategic challenges within businesses. So our most mature clients are using us and using experimentation to help guide their decision-making process and to help optimize for profitability, to help optimize several other elements of their customer experience. I mean, a really good example is that we work with numerous clothing, so apparel retailers in the UK and the US. And as we know, one of the key challenges within that industry across all markets is returns. So we need to be conscious from an optimization perspective that what we're doing in terms of allowing those customers to get over the line easier and increasing their conversion may then subsequently have an impact on what they do later. So when we're talking about optimizing beyond just the final conversion, it's things like that where we have a total view of the customer experience. So we're doing a lot of work around optimizing for returns rates, and that might mean that actually you optimize and reduce conversion on your client site that subsequently improves profitability by reducing returns rates. And having that full 360 picture is really key.
That would make a C-level person unhappy. Like if you're reducing the conversion rate on purpose just so you don't have to lose money afterwards. But it makes perfect sense. I'll just give you an example. I used to live in Sweden for several years, and there's this big retailer called Boost. Everybody buys clothes from them online. They're not just in Sweden. It's so easy to buy because they have Klarna integration. You don't put your details. You just click. Shipping is free, and then everyone I knew just orders 2 or 3 different sizes because they're not sure. And there's a return on every order basically that you place. You just try them out like a virtual trying cabin, whatever it's called, changing cabin. So that's kind of things that you're talking about here that you want to avoid basically, and just even if it's a lower conversion rate, of course.
But that's kind of the point, though. And I loved how Paul put it there, like optimizing for profitability.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, the company doesn't care about how many conversions they make. They care about how much profit they make. Exactly. So if you're getting all of these great conversions going through, excellent. I mean, if you wanted to get loads of conversions, you just make everything on the website free, right? And you'll get all of the conversions you need. But it's not profitable.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we're then talking about that customer journey, saying, well, we know people are wanting lots of different sizes, so they can try it on at home because they can't do it like this like post-COVID sort of era. Now we're saying, okay, if we can make it a lot easier to get the correct size for these people, so they're not doing that returns process, because the returns process is very expensive, right? In terms of the shipping and then having to actually deal with it, check all the clothing. And then, of course, you've got secondhand clothing. Right. What do you do with secondhand clothing? You can't package it and sell it again as like firsthand. So how that impacts profitability. So when we're moving away from this idea of optimizing for conversions, but instead optimizing for profitability, that conversion rate, that like, okay, well, they've made a sale, that changes. And that takes you back to that lifetime value piece again. Right, so it's. I think it's a great phraseology there, Paul.
Yeah, I think that. So all of this, having that 360 view of customer behaviour, lifetime value, is fundamentally what we try to do as an agency is make sure that we have a really deep understanding of your customer behaviour, build that view. That is on which the foundation that we base our experimentation. And so we. It's really critical for our clients within that space, within clothing, and you can apply this to so many other industries. That you need to have an impact on. You need to understand how the impact you're having on the customer, what that impact looks like after they've purchased.
Right. So does that, for example, also include pushing higher margin items more? Your website, like, do you even go to that extent?
To some degree, yeah. I think that what we've tried to do from a returns point of view, I think Devon touched on it there. I think that mainly it's about firstly trying to enrich the customer experience. So making sure that they know the models. Sizing information. We've done lots of experimentation around model diversity, so body shape diversity. So if I'm selling a pair of trousers, if I'm selling a dress, do I need to shoot that on 3 different models? That's 3 times the studio costs, but how does that then subsequently impact the customer behavior and the returns? So those are the elements we're looking at. I think enriching the customer experience. I think that then there's really simplistic things that we can look at, that how we might describe them as what barriers, I don't know. So for example, we know for a fact, based on our clients and customer behavior, that offering free delivery increases returns. Right? It's just a fundamental fact. We've studied this. We know this. So we know that putting in a barrier of, be that £2, $5, whatever it might be, that reduces returns rates. But it also, because it provides that small barrier. And so there's lots of different techniques that we can use. We really want to focus on making the customer experience better. That's primarily where our focus is.
Right. I'll give an example a guest we had on the podcast, Juan Mendoza, who runs Martech Weekly podcast and newsletter, a really, really good newsletter. He gets pitches all the time, people who want to be on the podcast. So he has a form somewhere on the website that's, you basically have to pay a very, very small fee if you want to be on the podcast, basically for production cost of the episode. It eliminates all the people who would want free shipping and then return the item, basically. So one more thing, a few more things actually that are in your presentation description for it is you can use experimentation to understand customer behavior. So could you give me like some examples of, obviously the returns and body shapes and all that is really good, but like some more examples that define understanding customer behavior.
I guess so. As an agency, our background is in data analytics. So we love the analytics data. However, we're really clear that the analytics data tells us what people are doing. It doesn't tell us what they're not doing. It doesn't tell us how they feel. So we really try to enrich our research with voice of the customer research that we can layer on top of the analytics data to build that picture. I think that the way that manifests itself is that we try to identify what customers want, but also we're quite clear that sometimes when customers are telling us that there is features, there is enhancements to the product that would benefit them, what we don't know is the cost of doing that and whether that will influence the behavior in the way we want to. So we're trying to look at trying to really get as much insight as we can, is trying to bridge that gap between what customers want and what's really going to make a difference to their customer behavior. So a good example is that in our voice of the customer research, we're always having customers tell us that they want video content. Video content is a really common one for shopping all sorts of products. It does often improve the customer experience, but what does that really impact? What does that impact truly mean to the customer behavior? How much they interact with it, and then again optimize it beyond just the conversion. We can then measure the impact, the ROI of creating that studio content, and what it does to the end profitability.
Right, and from what I know, most agencies don't really take the 360 view. They optimize maybe just conversions, which is exactly what your talk is about not doing, but taking the whole picture of, will the video production cost? Usually that's a completely different team or a different agency, and that cost is in its own silo, and it never really touches on how it affects and will the cost of that be offset by providing more conversions and higher revenue in the website. So I think this is a really good example. So Devon, do you have any examples you want to share as well?
Not so many examples like that, but more just going right back to what Paul said near the beginning of the evolution of optimization is we're having to get bigger, we're having to get bolder, and we're having to track very different things to what we used to. There was a comment that you made earlier, which was about the understanding the data that isn't there. What does that tell us? And it just takes me back to the World War II plane analogy of all of the fighter planes going out, coming back, and people going, hey, look, all of these planes, they have all of these bullet holes in, we should put armor there. It's like, whoa, no, these planes made it back. It's the ones that didn't make it back. That's where the armor needs to go. Okay, and that is the understanding the data that isn't there. It's just such a beautiful analogy for that sort of thing. And then understanding, therefore, what does that mean in business? And for me, it's the breaking down the silos that we see everywhere. So the democratization of data, the bringing in all of the different teams, as literally to what Paul's been saying, okay, right, video content creators, this is what we need to be able to optimize to reduce this returns rate. So it's really, where does that data sit? There doesn't need to be, hey, we're just a conversion rate optimization team. It needs to be, hey, we're the company, and we're aiming towards this profitability.
And tell me how A/B Tasty as a platform, how does it help with all of this?
I guess we're the sort of mechanism that allows you to do it quickly and easily, right? So ingesting lots of different customer data from different tools. If you need to get like highly niche data from like a customer data platform, how do you bring that into your segmentation? How do you push this campaign information back out to re-enrich that data and get more and more niche? That's kind of what the tool does. It allows you to run all of the different tests because, okay, we've got all of this video content, but does it perform better than what we've got today? Because if we start running those sort of tests where we say we're going to take a small segment of these videos, put it on certain display pages or listing pages, wherever we need it, A/B Tasty allows you to do that and also has the statistical methodology in the background, the statistics engine, which allows you to say, compared to the original or the control that we have today versus what's going on in these variations, we can see that it's going to generate X amount of ROI. Or it's a really bad idea, let's not implement it and let's not waste any more money on that. We'll discontinue this and continue with a different idea. So it's a very quick way of testing lots of different ideas at a very like high velocity. So you can start putting more and more information or resources behind the areas that are working. So, and additionally, that democratization of data again, if I'm the CMO and I think that the whole website would look much better in black, I'm probably going to push that, right? That could be the worst idea ever. So the intern might come in and say, actually, it'd be so much better in white because the target audience will respond better to that. You can democratize those ideas and just test everything. So
the platform helps really share knowledge across the organization and really know and learn about everything. It's 2023. You work for an experimentation platform. I have to ask, what do you think about Google Optimize Sunset? I'm legally obligated to ask you that.
It's two things. Actually, it's a brilliant question because it goes back into that conversation of now it's not free. Who's actually really coming through? Okay.
Yep.
Do you want to join our podcast? Okay, you need to pay production fees. Oh, okay, I don't want to join. Okay, do you want to do experimentation? Yes. Okay, well, it's not free. You're going to be using an enterprise level tool now. You've got to pay for it. It's like, oh, do I actually care about experimentation? When the answer is yes, that's when we can come in. That's when people like Paul can come in and start saying, make experimentation part of your culture. Because it's going to get you there quicker. You're going to fail really fast and you're going to fail at velocity. So you're going to succeed massively. So Optimize, I was really sad when I heard it was going to close because for me, it's like the gateway drug into experimentation. As I've come to grips with it, I've actually gone, the quality of experimentation, the people wanting to experiment, they're now the ones that are key. So it's a very good thing, I think.
What do you think, Paul?
I tend to agree. I think that we've been quite extensive users of Google Optimize, and fundamentally the problem, the challenge is there from an agency perspective is that it's not good enough. It's not a good enough platform to. The strength in A/B Tasty is things like the segmentation capabilities are just incredible, and so. That really elevates what we're able to do, and the challenges that we've had with Google Optimize is that we fundamentally can't execute some of the great ideas that we want. Right? It's really restrictive, but it's I think the main point, completely to echo what Devon was saying, is that. Fundamentally, people need to invest in this, and if I think that what we're finding is that some of the clients that we've spoken to that are using Google Optimize are doing so with just kind of dipping their toes into experimentation. Fundamentally, because it's a free tool, it's not taken seriously. It's not invested in from a time perspective, and so if you want to do this really, really well. Then there needs to be a budget line for this. There needs to be some investment for it, and I think that yes, I think it's a good move.
Google Optimize is the best button color testing tool ever made. And nothing will ever top it when it comes to that.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of work on performance optimization. So optimization of a different sort. The number of abandoned Google Optimized tags I see on websites where are we testing? We don't know. Maybe someone's testing. So that was the problem. Exactly that, because it's free and like the free returns and all that. We're coming back. I wasn't planning this, but we're coming back to we're closing the loop on that, on the free returns. That was the biggest problem with Google Optimize, in my opinion, because almost every client I had that says our website is slow, the LCP, which is the core web vitals metric, everyone's complaining about that. Yeah, you have Hotjar and you have Google Optimize on the page and you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
That both add a second or two by design to eliminate the flickering effect and all that. So that's kind of the thing. And so transition from Google Optimize to A/B Tasty, I think it makes sense if you know you need experimentation and you need a tool. Then I believe budget is really not going to be the biggest problem you have, right?
Yeah. This for us, budget will. I mean, we're in the UK, so price sensitivity, right? We do see budget as an issue, but more than budget, we see resource. Okay. And it's normally if we hear that resource is an issue, that's where we really want to have an agency coming in with us, because what the agency will provide on top of like their services on top of a tool like A/B Tasty, that's the game-changing piece for most people like starting to get into CRO.
And most clients you have, A/B Tasty has, they work with an agency that does it for them, or is it in-house teams? How does it go?
It depends on the region, actually. Mm-hmm. If we look at the French region, France is historically known for having to offer a lot of service on top of the tooling.
Okay.
In the UK, we work a lot closer with agencies. In the US, a lot more with agencies. In APAC as well, very much similar. And DAC region as well, very much quite a lot of agencies. So
interesting.
The preference is agencies. Again, if we talk about customer lifetime value, we're a tool provider. We know our tool back to front. Agencies are the experts who run their own business on CRO, right? Their whole business is that. They know that. They've learned that. They've got PhDs in that.
Right.
Okay. We build the tool. We take their feedback and we listen to the voice of the ecosystem and we continuously build it to make it better. So
makes perfect sense. Okay, so again, the session you have is June 28th. It is using experimentation to optimize more than just conversion rate. To everyone listening, just go to experimentationelite.com, check out the event, register. I mean, if there's still tickets available, let's just put that out there. And go to London and enjoy a great day of experimentation and conversion and talking with the right people. And to you guys, Paul, Devon, I want to thank you for being on this episode. To everyone listening, please consider rating, reviewing, and sharing the episode. And I will talk to you next week.